What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 381 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA, number 11 Philadelphia ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube. Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. KB coming at you from Underground Studios. No hoots this week, but you know who's joining me. It's my trusty partner in crime, Coach Deej, as we both rep our very versatile TLN hats.
What up, people? Oh, yeah, you got that nice Rochester, John.
They had it in the store, and it was the only MLL hat, and I was like, you know what? Might as well pull trig. And there was only 2 left. I was like, I'm not going to be at another PLL weekend until Fairfield. Who knows what's going to be available then? Let me just get this.
That's a fair point.
It's a fire hat too for the people if you're watching on YouTube. That thing be thanging right there. Nice little orange and black type flow. Shout out to the TLN homies. We got a good one. We're gonna recap Baltimore, all the stuff that went down with Whipsnakes Homecoming weekend, and how absolutely ridiculously hot it was, especially on Sunday. We will preview Redwoods Homecoming weekend, as we have a very awesome thing happening at Redwoods Homecoming weekend. No, we're not going to be there, but OTB will have people there. We'll get into picks. We'll get into the TV deal that has been hot in the streets and has the people going. Plus, we will talk about the Rochester Knighthawks news and what that means for the NLL, lacrosse in general, and why it's just 1 step forward, 10 steps back. We'll talk about that as well. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod. Across the board, we're on every social platform. Follow Deej at SCS_next great. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. And you can follow me, if you so choose, at KBICZL311. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow. Plus, it helps us continue to grow all the shows on our network. Keep subscribing. And if you're an Apple Podcast user, check out the channels tab in Apple Podcasts. You can favorite the channel. You get up to the minute updates on every show on our network. New episodes, top shows. You see if any new shows get added, which Deej, I don't know if I've told you, but I've been working in the shadows on a concept that we might be adding a show to the network pretty soon. Not pretty soon, but relatively soon, that I'm very excited about, that you will most certainly be a part of because it's right up your alley. So yeah, if you favorite the channel, you'll see when that show goes live. And of course, subscribe to both the Underground Sports Philadelphia and Outside the Box podcast YouTube channels. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia is where you get this show every single week. Full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. We are at 1,078 subscribers, which means we're 22 subscribers away from our next 100 subscriber milestone. Leave a like on the video, drop a comment in the comment section, click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. Subscribe, and subscribe to the OTB YouTube channel. I know I said that we would have OTB live from Philly up this week. I've just been thinking, and I'm like, this makes a whole lot more sense to put up during All-Star break. So we're going to hold off. It'll be live on the OTB channel first. So if you subscribe over there, you'll see it first. But OTB Live will debut during All-Star break because I feel like we'll be missing lacrosse. It'll give us a good chance to kind of look back, not too far back in the future or in the past of the season, but also it was a very funny episode. Nonetheless, so that'll debut during All-Star. I think it's a good 4th of July episode too. when All-Star's going on. So stay tuned for that, but subscribe to the Outside the Box Podcast YouTube channel, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. And this show is proudly presented by our good friends over at Rita's in Sewell, New Jersey. We absolutely love Rita's. 288 Egg Harbor Road is the address, Deej. It's been hot in these streets. It has been hot as a mofo out here in South Jersey, my friend. Today was the first day that it actually cooled down significantly enough where I went on my hot boy walk for the very first time this season, which means I should be able to treat myself to some Ritas over at Rita's in Sewell. And over the past couple of days, I'm like, I need some Ritas just to cool down because it is hot as can be. I don't remember the last time it's been like this hot with the humidity factor and everything. My gasps were flabbered every time I'd wake up and see what the temperature was because it was absolutely crazy. But Rita's in Sewell is the best way to cool down during the summer months, from their Italian ice to the gelatis, which are my personal favorite with the custard on top and at the bottom. They got the blendinis, they got the concrete, you name it. They're delicious treats. Will make sure you stay cool all summer long. Go to 288 Egg Harbor Road in Sewell, New Jersey, or go to ritasice.com and check out their entire menu, all the flavors, and the nutritional facts for your favorite sweet treats. And we thank Rita's in Sewell for being a proud presenting partner of the Outside the Box podcast and a partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. What's poppin', Deej? I was in Baltimore. I finally had a car to get around and not rely on some people. Not my own car, but I finally got a loaner car, and I hate how much I love said loaner car because that's just bad for me and how much I enjoy things that I really, really like, because I really, really like this car. How's tournament weekend?
Tournament went good. We ran into a team that was decent, and they gave us a little bit of trouble. Actually, the very first team we played Saturday morning was pretty good. We played not so great. Lost my voice again by 9:30 Saturday morning, so that, as you can hear, is still not great. Also, a bit of hole in my cheek this weekend yelling at them, so that's great. But I mean, we won a couple more games this weekend. We were in the semis and almost won that game to get into the final. So I'm not upset whatsoever. We're rolling into another tournament this weekend, back in the AA bracket. So another tough weekend, but we're ready. We're rolling, and we get our face-off guy back. Our main face-off guy had hockey starting Sunday, so he missed championship Sunday this past weekend. I think that changes a few things for us if we have him. But yeah, we get him back this weekend, so I'm excited. Just not looking forward to this long 4-hour ride in the car/truck there for this tournament this weekend.
At least it's cooling down a little bit. At least it's not gonna be a bazillion degrees while you're in said truck car. Huh? It's supposed to cool down.
Nah, bro. It's still 90s over here, big dog. we got it rough right now. It ain't cooling down for us just yet.
I'm looking right now. You're tripping, big dog.
No, I'm not.
It's gonna be at peak weather tomorrow in old Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah. See, you're looking in the wrong spot.
I'm talking about where you're at.
I ain't gonna be here tomorrow.
Where are you gonna be? Where are you gonna be?
Rockford, Illinois.
Let's see. Tomorrow, peak weather, Rockford, 83 degrees.
Mm-hmm. And then look at the rest of the weekend.
And we'll go 10-day forecast on you. Where is this? This is me. Hey, man, I can't control the weather, so.
I ain't mad at you. Like I said, it's going to be cooking, and I know it.
It's cooling down as far as I know here. Oh, no, I lied to myself. I think it's just because tomorrow is going to be the coldest it's been in probably a week and a half. And then it's going to go right back up. But it's not going to be unbearably like 98 degrees like it was on Tuesday and 104 like it was on Wednesday. But yeah, I was in Baltimore. I got crispy as can be. First things first, it was a Baltimore weekend because I took my ass to Jimmy's Seafood. And let me tell you, man, that place, ever since I started going there in 2021, I went with Harrison for the first time. And that was when I learned what market price meant. And when that bill came out, my jaw hit the ground. This was the first time that there was an actual price number next to the crab cakes. Jimmy's Seafood, this is not an ad either. We just genuinely appreciate them. Like the one time you've been there with me, Deej, which was last year, you were blown away just by the service, by how kind they were. Like, for a place that's as busy as they get, they have
Our waiter
literal.
was fine too.
I mean, they always are.
Hey.
They have literal cops as like security outside that place. They're so like hospitable, and it wasn't as busy because when I went, it was like pretty late. So I got to go downstairs. I didn't need a reservation. And I'm just chilling. I order my food, and the manager on duty, I guess, he comes around. He's like talking to all of us, like saying how great it was to meet all of us that were there. There's probably like 7-8 people. It was me, 2 other guys sitting at the bar, and then a couple people at tables. And then he's talking to one of the people behind the bar that's working there, and then types in his numbers on the computer, and he goes, "I got all you guys. Appreciate you." And I was like, what does that mean? And then my bill comes out. Every single item that I ordered was discounted 25% off. Which, like, number one, beyond kind, beyond generous, did not have to do that. Number two, the fact that it wasn't just the entire bill 25%, it was every item was discounted. And I got an appetizer, I got a full meal, and I got an extra side. My bill wound up being, before tax, $50. And Deej, you've been there with me. You know what we've spent there between the two of us.
Yes.
To pay $50 for all of that, an appetizer, which I got my crab pretzels, got my crab cake meal with a side, and I paid for an extra side, and I had a drink, non-alcoholic, because if you know me, you know me. $50 is, I would do that any day of the week, not just a one-time thing. I was blown away. So thankful for Jimmy's Seafood and just their entire staff. They are so kind. They always treat us well. And they don't even know that who we are. And I don't expect them to. In the grand scheme of things, we're nobodies. They have the Baltimore Ravens there the next day. It's not like we're these big celebrities. But the fact that they treat people like us who are out of towners, people who are only there once a year, that way, when they also have the likes of the Baltimore sports teams coming in, when they have celebrities coming in, when they've been on Food Network, Guy Fieri's been there, Bobby Flay has been there, they don't have to do that. And I genuinely appreciate that from them being a small family-run business since 1974, taking care of their people. And not that I was never not going to go back, that just further makes me want to continue being a patron of Jimmy's Seafood. Is the fact that their staff is going to treat you like that and treat you so well further inclines you to go back. And Deej knows this. I'm a huge person on tipping well. If you don't tip well, I judge you, and I quite frankly look down upon you. I gave them the fattest tip I think I have ever given on a bill because of that, and obviously they deserved it. They took beyond care of me at that hour. They had a rotation of 3 servers behind the bar just coming and checking in on people. It was unbelievable. Cannot thank Jimmy's Seafood enough. They're truly the best. If you're in Baltimore, go go to Jimmy's Seafood. Deej can vouch. He's been there. It's incredible. But thank you to Jimmy's Seafood for always being the best.
And I don't even eat seafood like that. Like, I'm very picky about seafood. But we can go to Jimmy's anytime. And I'll eat it anytime. It's very good. They have a wide selection. Like you said, they take very good care of you. Extremely nice. Making sure you're accommodated, have everything you need. And the vibe inside is nice. Good music. Not super loud. And there's enough space for everyone. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jimmy's Seafood. Actually, really bummed I couldn't go this year, but that's just the way the chips fell.
Yeah, Jimmy's is like that. Is like summer rolls around. We look at the schedule. When's Baltimore? As automatic, it doesn't matter when. We will make it a point to go, whether it's day, night, in between. We find a way to go to Jimmy's. That is it's an OTB must for our Baltimore trips. So thank you to Jimmy's Seafood.
I've only been able to go to Baltimore once.
That's crazy.
Last year is literally like I thought yes. Once we got rid of that festival that I had to work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm a lock for Baltimore all the time because it's always this weekend. Nope. The very next year, they're like, ha, gotcha. Let's move it up. Let's move it up. This guy's gonna be coaching. Yeah, he doesn't need to come to Baltimore.
But yeah, Baltimore was a ton of fun. Lot of people in the building, as always. It is a tour stop on the PLL calendar that brings out the people for sure. And our Baltimore wrap up is brought to you by our friends over at Buff. Guys, like I said, went on my first hot boy walk of the summer. DJ, I took a little bit of liberty. You know, my parents were out because it was their anniversary. Shout out to mom and dad. 42 years. Look at the OG and CFO Margie doing the thing. They went down to Cape May to celebrate. Their anniversary was on Wednesday. They went down today to do a whole bunch of like festivities and everything after going to the beach on Wednesday. I was like, you know what? I'm going stir crazy in the house by myself a little bit here. The internet was a little shoddy today, so I was waiting for things to upload so I could get some work done. I was like, let me go on a walk. Just clear the mind, you know, get a little activity go, get the blood flowing. Went around the whole neighborhood. I went outside of the neighborhood down to where my old middle school that's now an elementary school, all the way back around. I think I got a clean, like, just under a 5K in.
Oh, you was walking.
I was walking. It felt good, though. The weather was nice. Like, it cooled down quite a bit from what it's been, so it wasn't, like, unbearable outside. It was nice. It was nice to just get out and go. Had my buff with me, you know, protecting the face, protecting the head. You guys can do the same. And, you know, with the summertime here, you got to get the UV ray protection. You got to get that insect repellent buff as well. Plus, they got the survivor buffs available on their website. Use our link in the description to shop with our friends at Buff, the official everything wear of Survivor. And we love Buff. We appreciate them and thank them for being a proud partner of the podcast. Once again, use our link in the description to shop with Buff so they know that you're coming from us. And protect yourself from the heat, the wind, when it gets colder, the cold, with our friends at Buff. Deej, Baltimore was a time. Warren Zeiders was there. The official PLL music ambassador was in the building. Got to spend some time with the GOAT herself, Rachel DeCecco. She was telling me about the new replay review booth setup that they had that they'll be using, and you'll see it on the broadcast now. Maddie Palin won't be just like hovering over Seth Tierney's shoulders looking at multiple iPads. There's an actual station for him now that's very similar to like the NBA replay booth, and that's where players are going to be doing their, instead of under the helmet, they'll pop on a headset and be on that booth as well, which I think it'll be an adjustment for people watching at home and kind of just getting acclimated to it. But I think in the long run, it'll be a beneficial thing because we won't have as much of, like, for lack of a better term, like interruption during the broadcast where guys can't hear the booth under the helmet, the connection's off or whatever it may be. I think it's a good improvement. I'm excited to see it for the first time this weekend, obviously, since I didn't watch any of the games on TV because I was there. But nonetheless, some cool improvements that the PLL is making. Maryland fans showed up, even on a big tournament weekend. I think there was 5 tournaments this weekend, each going on in Maryland. The fans popped out. It was a good time. There was a slushy man in the like food section area. His little slushy truck. It was so hot. We started a rumor that man's was going to be able to retire off of just this PLL weekend because of how many slushies he was producing.
Now I'm real mad I missed it because you know how much I enjoy a good slushie.
Rosie and I stood in that line. Deej, I'm not even exaggerating. We went over. This was on Sunday. We went over halftime of the Archers and Outlaws game. We got our orders. The end of the third quarter happened. So we stood in an entire halftime and full third quarter before we got everything. My man was pumping out slushies like no other. That line was to like the midway point of sideline to sideline behind like the mesh that's behind the goal. It was unbelievable how long that line just continued to be.
Did you get harassed to trade your change for stickers?
I did not. The kids of Baltimore have a little class.
I will never forget that.
They respect their elders.
I will never forget that. They just wanted anything, we'd trade them for stickers. And it's like, we don't want stickers.
Stickers, the Live Strong bracelets. I was like, do you know who I am? And then they knew who you were the very next year.
Man, I'm like, who is calling my name? I'm so tired of going places and people knowing me.
It's literally everywhere.
Like, leave me alone.
You're a hot commodity, my friend.
Listen. I know. Can't do anything about it, man. The people love me.
But let me tell you, Mr. Slushy Man definitely had a good chance to retire off of that because you know how much it was not Rita's. I was bummed it wasn't Rita's, but it was the closest thing I could get to Rita's there to kind of cool down a little bit. Do you know how much Mr. Slushy Man was charging for these slushies, Teach?
How big were they?
So it was like the clear see-through Solo cups. It was probably like that size. And it was like the long ones, not like wide. It was like the taller ones, so like a little bit taller than a typical Solo cup, but they were the see-through ones. And I got mine with the custard on it because I was like, let me get a little switch up here to keep the flavors going. So keep that in mind with pricing.
Let me say yours was like $6.50.
Ha! I wish. I would have got 2 of them.
Damn.
My man was charging $11.65 for a slushie with some custard on it. I said, God damn.
He was on that with y'all.
He was popping. It was very good, though, I will say. Wasn't Rita's, but it made do. The games in Baltimore, however, were quite crazy. We had a rare instance happen in the final game of the weekend, which we will get to. But we will start with the New York Atlas going belt to ass on the Water Dogs, 17-9. Some days you got it, some days you don't. Matt DeLuca and the defense just did not have it. The offense did not have it, and I think more so it was the offense not having it, so the defense had to play a lot more, and DeLuca saw a lot more shots because of it. And Kieran McCardle said in the post-game press conference, he said, you're not going to win lacrosse games playing like that. So at the end of the day, not a great showing by the Water Dogs. Good win for the Atlas. And I like that Bill Tierney took I
was just checking to see when we switched. Because you sound exactly like me right now, dog. I don't know how many times I just said that exact phrase.
I'm like, with my eyes.
I'm like, hold on. Is that me? Am I talking right now? That ain't my voice.
I did like that Bill Tierney took blame on the way the defense was being kind of dispersed and said, that's on me. You know, I was playing the defense inside the arc that gave them opportunities to hit the twos that they hit. And he said, you know, it's not that you schematically draw up twos. It's a lot that comes in transition, but that's one thing, Deej, in this Bill Tierney era of the Water Dogs is they haven't been able to defend the two very well.
Or take them.
And then it's like, it's almost like they're choosing not to take them. It's like, it's okay, guys. You can shoot twos, and you have guys that are capable of doing it. That guy that wears number 40 named Connor Kelly has led the league in two-pointers multiple years. He can hit them. And tell me if I'm wrong, Deej. But a guy at the size, stature, and the strength that he has, Jack Hanna should be able to rip some twos for this team. And we don't know if he can, but I feel like he can. If Thomas McConvey has a 2-point range in his bag, that makes him that much more versatile of a player. And then you have three guys in that midfield that can rip twos and be like dynamic and multifaceted players for you in your offense. One thing that was a head scratcher for me during that game too was the amount of times Michael Sowers was just at the top of the arc. Michael Sowers is talented. We love Mike. Like, that's our guy. Michael Sowers does not have a 2-point range in his bag. Why he's like at the top of the arc as much as he was mind-blowing to me. And it was typically like when they needed a shot to go. And then the ball ended up in Michael Sowers' stick. And then there's like 5 seconds left, and he can't rip from two. It was just a lot of miscommunication and a lot of weird stuff happened with the Water Dogs offense. But I need to see them like have a willingness to take some twos. Like, I don't need you to be like an NBA offense where you live and die by the three. I don't need you to live and die by the two, because that's going to lose you more games than not. But I need to see some just like creativity and multifacetedness from the guys that are capable of hitting twos for this team. That way, in a game where you're playing against a team like New York, when you're playing against Boston, when you're playing against Utah or Denver down the line, those are teams that can hit twos pretty often. We've seen the Redwoods have guys now that can do it as well. If you want to be one of the great teams, you have to be multidimensional. And the philosophy the Water Dogs have right now is like almost putting them in a box where it's like, yeah, we only shoot 1-pointers.
All right. First, to play devil's advocate, which is going to sound crazy coming out of my mouth because I absolutely despise this team.
Stag, did you hear this?
There's one team in this league that has made a living off of hitting singles and has been to more championships than any other team in the league. The Whipsnakes.
And they even got a guy now that's hitting twos.
But they don't take them nearly as much as everybody else. Hitting singles works as long as you're doing your part on the defensive end. Now, what I will say is, like you said, there was some blame taken by Tierney. He shouldn't take all of it. Because at the end of the day, the guys on the field are high-level lacrosse players. Instincts have to kick in. Maybe one goes. After one, you kind of step up and start respecting guys from outside the arc. Maybe a second, depending on who comes down and who's taking it, you might go, okay, this guy's not as good of a shooter. He might save this one. They get two. Okay, now we're pressing the line every time, forcing them to give it up. We'll live with the one because we can make ones on the other side. That's just an instinctual thing plus schematics. So that's a two-handed fault thing, in my opinion. The other thing, Sowers being up top, I think that was just one of those things that just happened. I think they kind of switched to that to try and get that defender in a place that they're not familiar in defending. to try and get Sowers a few more looks than what he was getting in the game, because they did kind of game plan to take Sowers away, more so as a passer than anything else. So I think that was just a mix up in the offensive schematics to try and get him some different looks than what was being produced at X. I don't hate moving him up there. I just don't like the idea of going to him late in the clock from up there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have him up there, dodge early with him in the clock, and then you can move it on. So then if it's stuck late in a Connor Kelly, McConvey, Hannah, etc., slosher kind of guy, you like that shot from deep a little more than you do Sowers. But as far as the 2-point piece, like I said, you kind of don't have to if you're going to hit singles and play good defense. But if you're going to have some lackluster defense or a lot of mental mistakes, turnovers, penalties, etc., you might need a few twos in your bag.
And in this game, they didn't play great defense, and they weren't hitting singles.
Yeah, so you're in trouble.
Some bright spots in this game, though. I mean, Dylan Hess continues to be a steal from the draft. I know it was, third round or whatever it was, but he's been sensational to start his career. Marcus Hudgens had one of the nastiest, grittiest ground balls in this game. He was fantastic again. And what a performance from Alex Stathakis. Went 51.9% against Trevor Baptiste. That's pretty good. Pretty damn good. Not Matt DeLuca's biggest day, but again, a lot of that was just the offense was not able to cash in, and Atlas were just going crazy in transition. Jeff Teat had his best game of the year, 8 points. Costabile, 2 2-pointers, 6 total points, shot 80%. Reed Bowering took 2 shots, scored 2 goals. No big deal. Connor Schellenberger, 1 goal, 2 assists. Matt Trainer, 3 assists. Jake Stevens scored in this game. Michael Gray scored his first goal. Kelleher scored in this one. And Jack DiBenedetto started in this game. He did a great job erasing Xander Dixon. Xander had 4 shots, went over. So great job there. We saw, who was the team that they made it a point to shut down Xander earlier this year? It was either the Archers or the Whips. I forget who, but nonetheless, teams, I feel like teams scheme, I know Xander's a great finisher. 100%. Respect game. Xander's got moments, Deej, that I've noticed too, that he does it pretty often, where he doesn't catch some of the most simple passes, and then it ends up as a turnover, ends up, having to scramble, and, you have less time on the shot clock to get a shot off. I get wanting to eliminate Xander, but I do wonder if they honed in more on eliminating some other guys, if it would have helped. DiBenedetto was great against Xander, but you could see what doing that, and with a new guy on that defense for the first time, you could see some of the inefficiencies from Ben Randall, from who else was playing close D this week? I'm totally blanking. Kenny Brower. I was surprised they didn't go Brower on Teat. I know Tierney talked about picking and choosing when you have the lefty on lefty matchup and everything, but I was kind of shocked that the way Kenny Brower's played this year, that they didn't just say, "Hey, go be our eraser again." I mean, he did a very good job on Shelley, limited him, but you could see the tall task that Ben Randall had on Jeff Teat, and I don't know if that was part of a new guy in the lineup from what you've been used to and how things have flowed defensively, but it was interesting that this was the first time that a big name has really crushed the Water Dogs offensively this year. You're muted.
Sorry, I was coughing, so I didn't. Yeah, I think this is more of just a matchup thing. I like the idea personally. I really like the idea of taking away the inside finisher, no matter who it is that you're playing. I think that's the guy you lock off, because then it forces everybody else to either insanely move off ball to create another guy to find and finish, or everybody has to be Dodgers and they got to beat their matchup. So if you're playing great individual one-on-one defense, both on and off ball, they don't really have those opportunities that they had when that guy wasn't locked off. Especially with a team like Atlas, where like really they don't hit a lot of other open guys. Like Xander is that open guy.
Mm-hmm.
So like if he's not open, it kind of turns into a, well, I got to dodge and beat my guy kind of offense. So I think that's kind of the philosophy for everybody when playing Atlas now, is take away Xander and force them to be Dodgers and see who's going to come out and beat you. The problem was they didn't have the right guy on tee. Now, I'm not sure who the right guy would have been necessarily for the day, but Teat showed up and played, and his matchup couldn't stop him. That's kind of what it came down to.
A weird off game for Ben Randall, too, because like we've seen Ben Randall be elite like for the past year plus, if not longer, and just kind of, faltered in the matchup. I do wonder when these teams see each other again if Kenny Brower gets the Teat matchup rather than Ben. But we'll see that down the line, obviously. One last thing on this game with the Water Dogs. Great story. Good kid. Good for him making the roster. But I don't think the Water Dogs need to see Mikey Lampert in the lineup anytime soon. He's been a liability in that midfield. Like, I get guys have, obligations and different things going on in life, but like, man, am I excited to see Mikey Schlosser in the lineup this weekend? Because like Lampert, skilled player. Like, don't get me wrong, you're part of the 1% of the 1% that make it to the PLL. But man, watching him up close this weekend, I was like, ooh, it stood out that like he was a liability offensively for them. And I know he's a placeholder for when number 15 is healthy, and that spot is technically a placeholder on this roster. But I'd much rather see Mikey Boehm, Mikey Schlosser in that spot, because I kind of know what they're capable of doing, and they have played in the system and have had success in the system. But that's my 2 cents on that.
I wouldn't hold this too much against him. There were a lot of other factors going into this game. I think that if you get a different version of Michael Sowers, this might have played out a little differently for him. I think that if Kieran McCardle has a little bit of a better game, this plays out a little differently. If the defense doesn't quite give up some of the runs that they gave up to Atlas, it's maybe a different game for him, because the offense flows differently. You have different opportunities or different feel to the game. There's a lot of factors that kind of run into a game. Not saying he looked good, not saying that there aren't better options, but I wouldn't, with such a small sample size, I wouldn't say that he doesn't deserve another shot. And maybe you catch him in a game like you get the first 3 this year with Sowers, and he has a completely different impact and look. Or maybe, Kieran steps up and has a really good game. Or maybe you're just in a tight game where the defense is actually, playing and keeping you in it, and he makes a play down the stretch that ends up being something you couldn't see because of how lopsided this game was. I'm just all a fan of giving guys a few shots before kind of writing them off, simply because there's so many different factors, and then it's already so hard to make a roster. So giving guys the benefit of the doubt in their first couple of games of being nervous and kind of having – because, like, one thing I'll say is I think I played better my first 3 years of playing lacrosse than my last 3. I played a little less timid my first 3 years because I wasn't worried about making mistakes. I would make mistakes. I would play. My last 3 years, if I made a mistake, that might cost me 4 or 5 reps. And then I'd be allowed to go back in the game. So it's like I was tiptoeing almost all the time, and I wasn't really playing my best and wasn't giving my best because I was worried about making mistakes. I think a lot of guys play that way in their first couple weeks and first couple games. So try and give a benefit of a doubt a little bit to those newer guys for like reasons of those. But yeah, he still didn't look great this weekend.
Yeah, it was the second game because he played in that first game of their homecoming. I do want to see Mikey Boehm a little bit more. You know, he's only played in one game. It was against the Outlaws. His 7 touches were just passes, so I want to see him a little bit more involved because I think he's got talent, and he's also a year and a half younger than Mike Lampert. So would like to see him a little bit more, but I am excited that Mikey Schlosser's back in the lineup because I know what he's capable of. He's won a championship. He's a Dodger in that midfield, is a presence from range. I like that he's back in the lineup for the Water Dogs this week, which we'll talk about later. But the second game, we witnessed some history, Deej, as Rob Pennell finally breaks the record in front of Ryan Boyle, who was up in the booth and is now the all-time assist leader in pro field lacrosse history. He's at 296 now after the 2 homecoming games. This game had everything, though, against the Cannons. The Cannons win this one 13-12. This game had everything. The Cannons looked hot from the jump. Whipsnakes answered. TJ Malone rips a 2-pointer with a second left in the quarter to open the game. Then the Cannons go on a run. They score 4 in the second. It's 7-5 at halftime. Then the Cannons continue out of halftime. Coulter Mackesy, Ryan Drenner had a phenomenal game in this one. Cannons put up a 5-piece to the Whips putting up 3. And then the Whipsnakes come crawling back. You know, Asher Nolting scores with 11-17 to go in regulation. Whipsnakes score 4 consecutive goals, aren't able to get the final shot to go, and Cannons survive and take down the Whips in the first game of their homecoming. Matt Brandow was my takeaway from this game, though. Yes, TJ Malone had 7 points. He was phenomenal. He's an MVP frontrunner for sure. He's a superstar on this team already, not even 2 full years into his career. Matt Brandow in this offense, though, with TJ Malone, with Rob, with Brad Smith, looks like a brand new player. And I know, you know, he was dynamic in college and everything, and I was excited to see him in that Water Dogs offense, and I just genuinely think they misused him. Granted, they got Zed Williams for him, and they'll see Zed Williams next year, but what a perfect fit for Matt Brandow to go into this Jim Stagnita, Drew Snyder offense. 4 goals in this game, and every minute you looked on the field, Matt Brandow was making a play, and I was just blown away by how comfortable he looks in this system. He was one of my stars from this one for sure. And I mean, the big takeaway, Brennan Krebs, not an ideal start for him. It's not that he was bad. Only saved 45.5% though. And then the Cannons just have the dudes. They have the guys to go and make runs early, late, in between. Asher Nolting, 6 points. Coulter Mackesy had a hat trick. Ryan Drenner had a hat trick. Matt Campbell had a solo goal and a 2-pointer. Connor Kirst had 2 goals in this game. Mick Kelly scored in this game. It was they had the numbers early. Asher was dishing like he has been all year. And it was an exciting Eastern Conference game, and Brian Holman said it a ton. The East is going to be a battle all season long. The 4 teams that are in the East are going to rip each other apart. And it's exciting.
my prediction for the Whips to miss the playoffs by one game is looking real good. Right about now. That's all I'm gonna say. It's looking real nice. And it's great for the Western Conference for y'all to beat up on each other consistently, and they're also beating up on each other. I mean, the Woods are sitting nice up top at 2-1. Not having that second loss that a lot of the other teams have, and then right behind them, 2-2 are both the Archers and Outlaws, and then down at the bottom, obviously, Carolina Chaos. But they're still in the running since they have to play everybody twice out in the West, and then they also can still steal a few from the East. But I would say the West is a little bit easier to be in right now than the East.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. But yeah, Saturday Night Lacrosse provided everything and then some on ESPN 2 with the Cannons and Whipsnakes in front of Warren Ziders, which was pretty sweet. Then we go to the hottest day of the year, Sunday at noon. DJ, I don't know if you saw the video that the PLL posted. Outlaws and Archers players' cleats were melting during this game. That's how hot the turf was. Not only were they dumping, their sticks in ice and everything like we traditionally see in the hot weather, dudes' cleats were melting, so they were icing Gatorade towels to then have them stand on that rather than the turf. That's how hot it was during this game.
That's actually crazy.
I was blown away. I was like, holy shit. And I was standing out there. What was I thinking? The Outlaws found a way. They went on a double kill shot to end the game. An 8-goal run to win this one. They shut out the Archers in the fourth quarter. Now, I will say, he's out this week too. Matt Moore got banged up towards the end of the game. Unfortunate. Because, we've seen this Archers offense without certain guys and how different it looks without their full complement of players. So to not have a healthy Matt Moore certainly affected the way they were playing. Certainly affected, by the heat. Both teams were. You could see it on their faces. Dan Arestia posted a photo of Ryan Ambler's seat after the press conference, and that thing looked like Ryan Ambler went and jumped in a pool because of how soaked it was. And I jokingly said that we could throw that chair on sideline swap and somebody would buy it for a couple hundo. Because there's some sick freaks out there that would want Ryan Ambler's sweat stains from his shorts. The big story, Jerry Bernhardt in this game, 4 goals, 5 points, first 4-goal game since college. I know he played in that game when we were in Philly, Deej, but seeing it up close and like field level, he's different. He's different from any PLL player in terms of just like pure athleticism. Like, he's at the top of the chart. His speed, his twitch, he was on one in that heat. And I was like, I got a front row seat for this. Sign me up. He was fantastic. Pat Cav had a great game, 4 points. Logan Wisnowskis, 3 points. Dalton Young, 2 points. Brennan O'Neill was like the only guy who didn't perform up to standard. He had 2 assists. He took 10 shots, shot 0%. That's one thing I want to see this Outlaws offense do, is just like let Brennan cook. We've been saying it all season. Let him take over a game. Let him be the LeBron James type player that we have seen him be in his career, and just go to the rack, be a physical force out there. Pat Cav told us in the post-game press conference, he said Dalton Young is the most underrated. He's one of the best midfielders in the PLL. He's so underrated. He just puts his head down, goes and does his job. I couldn't agree more. I love Dalton Young's game. He's so much fun to watch. Like, if you're looking for an not flashy, superstar player to like follow along with and like be a fan of just as a person and a player. Dalton Young's that dude. Like he's not gonna have the Sports Center top 10 plays. He's not gonna be the guy that's, making behind the back type goals between the legs. He's gonna go out there though, and he's gonna battle and get you 2 to 3 goals a game if need be, and be a huge contributing part to the Denver Outlaws winning games. He was a big part in this one. Scored 2 very key goals, took 3 shots. The only thing I want to see more from this team moving forward is Graham Bundy finding his 2-point shot. He scored 1 in this one, but he only shot 16.7%. Pat Cav took 11 shots in this game, Deej. He had 56 touches, 11 shots. Do you know what his shooting percentage was?
0, 11,
7. Pretty close, 9.1%. I need to see Pat Cav get a little more accuracy, and I will give him the benefit of the doubt. It was hot as shit out there. It was hard to see out there, too. It was bright at that Newton game. But I need to see Pat just be a little more accurate on the shots. But he was dishing 3 assists in this one. That's good for Pat to kind of just get comfortable in this offense. Need to see Brennan take over a game. 39 touches and shooting 0% is not going to cut it. And he knows that. Like Brennan knows that. Brennan knows he's got to be better, and he will be better. But a good game for the Outlaws. They battled back, and Connor Fields led the way for the Archers. Schreiber did his thing. Sam King did his thing. Mac O'Keefe had 2 goals. Ryan Ambler had 2 goals. It still blows my mind that Ryan Ambler was not active week 1 because you can see the difference in the Archers offense when he's out there. Not even just from a goal scoring perspective, but just like overall schematics for that offense. Ryan Ambler's such a key piece. The Archers, Chris Bates said it after the game. He said, we did not play well. We didn't deserve to win. You can't go out there and give up 8 goals to end the game and not score and expect to come out on top. That's a huge win for the Outlaws, though. That game there is the difference from being closer to the chaos in the standings, and now you're much closer to being just in the mix. The Redwoods have their homecoming weekend up. I'm not saying anything one way or the other for them, but like you get a head-to-head with the Redwoods. Like you put yourself in a much better position going into another weekend than you would be if you would have lost this game.
A far better position. Like to the tune of where winning this game this weekend puts you in first place. Yeah. Possibly, depending on how the score differential breaks out and how things work out with the Redwoods' second game. But you're literally more than in the mix if you win this head-to-head that you got rolling. With the Redwoods. And really it just showed that you have put together a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Your star didn't show out. Really, none of your stars showed out. You got help from a committee of guys, and it proved that when those guys are having troubles, you have other guys you can turn to and be productive, and you can have them play kind of a off-ball role and see if they're able to give you anything in addition to what the other guys are giving you. I think that was a big problem for Denver earlier in the year, was they looked very similar to the Redwoods of the past, where everything was run through the attack, and if the attack wasn't having a good game, there goes the offense.
Mm-hmm.
The midfield woke up in this game. There was more midfield production, more midfield initiation, and you got the help that attack has been needing all season. So now if that attack is able to return to what they were giving you the first couple games of the year, and that midfield production stays, we're looking at an Outlaws team that we thought we would have seen come week 2. It's just taken a couple of weeks to get here, but last week was a great point in getting there. A great, stepping stone in getting to where they really want to be as an offense.
Yeah. And I mean, the Archers, they'll be better. You don't win back-to-back championships for no reason. They're a championship caliber team. They'll figure some things out. It just wasn't their day. It's one of those things where you chalk it up and it's like they just had our number at the end of the game. It was hot. It was a brutal game. And the Outlaws just dug deep and found a way. So kudos to them. The final game, holy moly. I believe this tied the single game record for most points by a single team in a game with 20. The Whipsnakes put up a 20-piece on the Carolina Chaos and win 20-6. Deej, I was blown away for a multitude of reasons in this one. Number one, the fact that the Whipsnakes offense looked this fresh and revitalized after playing less than 24 hours prior in a gutsy game against the Cannons and lose by 1 was astonishing. Number 2, this is just the 3rd time in PLL history since they have gone to the homecoming weekend format that a team has lost the first game of their homecoming and then won the second. It is the rarest formula of the homecoming scenarios we have seen. It's only happened twice before. The Cannons did it in their homecoming last year, and the Outlaws did it in their homecoming last year. This is just the 3rd time. The biggest takeaway, I know we've said our things about Rob Pinnell and his style of offense and everything. But man, oh man, this Whipsnakes offense looked better with Levi Anderson in there over Matt Rambo.
He cheats.
Crazy.
His swim dodge is award every single time. That needs to be called. But nonetheless, I'm not going to make you do extra work, but it would be amazing if you just edit what I said last week about their homecoming into this. Just doing one of those, flashback. I vividly remember telling everybody that they were going to lose a close game to the Cannons and it was going to light a fire under them, and there was no way they were going to lose both of their games and they would split one, and that they would come out. And if they lose that game to the Cannons in a close game, they would come out and absolutely play like a team with a literal fire under their ass in the second game. And look what happened. It's almost like I had a fortune-telling ball, like a crystal ball in front of me telling me like exactly what was going to happen. I didn't. But boom. Literally exactly what I said was going to happen is what happened. I don't know why. I don't know how, because I'm normally never this good. Like I just literally a week ago I went 0-4 in picks before this Baltimore week. So it's not like I be knowing what I'm talking about all the time. But I was right this time. Something felt right about that. I knew they wouldn't go 0-2 simply, because they have the best record of any team at one stadium, being, at Johns Hopkins. So that played a factor. The home fans played a factor. I just didn't think it would be to the tune that we got. 14-point win is insane.
Nasty.
They just skyrocketed up the standings with that. If they had just one more win, we'd be talking about them at the top of the standings.
If they won that Cannons game, Stagg said it in his post game. He said we're 2 goals away from being in first place. Like, yep. Crazy game. Chaos shot 14.3% as a team in this one. The Whipsnakes, we've talked about them this year not looking like themselves. Chaos are playing, I don't know what sport they're playing. They're playing a completely different sport out there. I don't know what the goal was going into the season for this team, but outside of a couple of bright spots, Jackson Iker being one of them, Charlon Beatties has been solid. Like, obviously the defense is the defense. I will say Jack Posey looked very overmatched in this game. But my goodness, dude, that Chaos roster is it's a lot deeper than just having a lot of pieced together on offense, their short sticks not being good. It's a rough watch. Seeing it up close and personal, because they had a bye in Philadelphia. So seeing them for the first time in person. Woof. Woof. Roy Colsey came into the press conference and joked because Dan went and watched their practice. He said Dan Aresti is officially banned from all future Chaos practices. And then he said, I'm just joking. I need to laugh so I don't cry. Like, I get Knobloch was in his first game. He led the team in points, but he only shot 12.5%. Jackson Iker shot 28.6%. They had one guy on this team, Deej, that shot at least 33.3%, and that was JJ Silstrop. Everyone else shot 20% or 28.6% or worse. And I know Emmett Carroll was on one, tied the rookie record for saves in a game at 17, saved 73.9%. But, like, I know we talk about, like, with sports, and I just brought it up with Mikey Lampert. Like, you're the 1% of the 1% to get into the PLL. I don't know, man. Like, you're telling me you couldn't have Jules Henningberg on this team? You're telling me there's not some better options out there for you? And I love Roy Colsey. I think he's going to be a fantastic coach in this league. One thing that stands out to me with what he brings up in his post games, and I would love to, like, pick his brain. Roy Colsey has an open invite to come on the show whenever. He brings up a lot of playing within the system. And playing within the system that they're putting in place. I get teams in every sport, you have a system. But I think you also have to let your players' talents and skill sets kind of carry them in situations that play outside of your system if it needs to happen. And it feels right now, in a lot of instances, this Chaos offense is being boxed in by this system that obviously you and I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's limiting them in a lot of ways.
I couldn't even begin to tell you what it is.
I don't think
Like,
anybody can except the people that are in that locker room.
there's like, yeah, I don't even know if they know what it is. Because I feel like
That's fair.
when you know those kind of things, you address them and you make them better, and they haven't at all. They've kind of just been rocking with it. I'm not sure the philosophy behind it. I don't ask a lot of questions. I just tell the people what I see. I, I don't know, though. Like, on paper, they have everything they need to be successful. Maybe it's something to do with the new coaching staff and their adjustment to the PLL. They don't really have an identity as an offense anymore. Their defense is pretty, it's similar to what we're used to seeing over there. Uh, I really just got to chalk it up to all of the moving pieces, though. I don't see any other reason for it to be that way. And this may just be one of those growing pain growth years, where like you kind of got to sit through it. You don't have a choice because that's what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, Dagnon's been very little for them. Perk has been hurt, came back this week and gave them nothing really. He only had 8 touches. Ross Scott has had 1 good game so far this year. JJ Silstrop has had some moments. Owen Hiltz played in his first game. He looked solid, but you could tell it was his first game. And I mean, they're short sticks, man. They are brutal. They're a brutal watch. They give them close. It's almost like they don't have anybody out there. It's tough. They got to figure that out. They got a lot to figure out, and like you said, it might be one of those things where you got to kind of just ride the ship into the night, and that night being the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 draft, and getting Joey Spallina on this team to be a face on that offense, reunite him with Owen Hiltz, and see what happens when you have like a guy. But it might be a very, very long summer for Carolina Chaos fans.
I think it will be a pretty long summer. I didn't see this coming. I don't think anybody really saw this coming. We didn't really know what to expect. Oh, excuse me. With all the new pieces, coaching staff, players, etc. But I don't think anybody saw it going this bad with the defense they have, the goalie they have, some of the names they have, even on the offensive end. Like the pieces were there. I think not rolling and going and getting a better face-off guy earlier may have caused some of the problems as well. There's just so many things you could point at with this team that are areas of concern or places to look to fix and things of that nature. So it's easier. It's much easier to say you're going to have a rough year than to say, well, if you do this, this, and this, then things could turn out all right.
Yeah. And I liked what I saw from Inacio in this one, and he's going to get the start for Chaos this week. I also, from just watching it up close, I did not like the decision of them going Levi Virch at short stick. It felt like it was like, let's put a Band-Aid here while we have an open wound going on over here. And I feel like it just changed so much for them. I'm excited that Levi's going back to LSM this week because he didn't look comfortable, from just watching what his assignments were. You could tell he was playing playing out of position, and it was not something that he should be doing with the way this team is constructed right now. He's been very dynamic at LSM. I think that's where he belongs on this team for right now, for the time being. And it definitely hindered them by not having him out there with a pole.
I only don't like it because why let go of Carter Parlett?
That too.
That's the only reason I don't like it. I think Levi Virch looked okay there. I don't think it's hard going from playing LSM to going short stick. And realistically, it's hard playing short stick in this league. I think a lot of the short sticks that have spent quality time becoming short sticks, Danny Logan, Ben Ramsey, Piper Bond, Bo Pedersen,
Connor Marr,
like these guys are D mids. Even Carter Rice, Brian Shevlin, like these are D mids where they spent multiple years in college playing D mid. They've taken every skill set they need and sharpened it to be a D mid. they make it look really easy. It's extremely hard to be a D mid.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every single guy you're playing in the PLL was getting a pole matchup in high school and college. Whether it was the best midfielder, so you're getting the LSM, or they were attackmen and they were getting one of the best 3 close defenders. So they're used to beating poles, and now you're supposed to stop them with 3 less feet. The short sticks make it look so easy, and it's not. And then it's even harder when you're used to playing with a pole, and then they're asking you to go and play short. I thought he did a decent job with all of those factors in play. And the bigger issue is letting go of Carter Parlett and also not just having other depth pieces within your circle, not even necessarily on the game day roster, but just in your protected roster, on your reserves, things of that nature, so that you can have another option to go to in situations like this.
And it makes it even worse when Levi doesn't have anywhere close to the talent he needs to like help back him up there at that position. Like, sure, Mark Lassini is a veteran in this league, but he's older. Greg Langermeyer, all kudos to him. He hasn't shown me anything to justify why he's on a PLL roster. And that sucks for Levi to be put in that situation there where, like, at the end of the day, he probably was their best short stick when he shouldn't have been playing short stick. They have a lot to figure out on that chaos roster. And I know Blaze was taken out of the game in this one. Colsey said, we don't pull Blaze. That's the decision that him and Austin Kaut have a relationship, and they communicate on that, and they do it only. So for anybody thinking that Blaze got benched, that wasn't the case, allegedly. So nonetheless, the standings after the weekend, and Deej, I do have a take that I will unleash after I drop the standings here. In the East, the Cannons sit atop at 3-1 with a +3 score differential. The Whipsnakes are 2-3 with a +12 score differential. Also, kudos to Aiden Carroll and kudos to Drew Snyder and Stags. They said going into that game, we probably have been doing Aiden a disservice by playing him at midfield, so we moved him to attack, and look what he did. 7 points. Best game as a pro. So I probably would expect to see that a lot more moving forward from Aiden Carroll in this Whipsnakes offense. New York is 2-2 with a +2 score differential, and Philly is 2-2 with a -3 score differential. In the West, California was idle, but they sit atop the West at 2-1 with a +8. Denver's 2-2 with a -1. Utah 2-2 with a -2. Carolina 1-3 with a -19 score differential. Are you ready for this? It's rough. They are in the doldrums. Are you ready for this take, Deej? You're going to hate this, by the way. I'm prefacing this with you're going to hate this.
Okay.
But I did workshop it around the sidelines, and a lot of people were like, hey, you're not wrong. There's still a lot more research that needs to be done into this take, and we'll see it as the season progresses because this team only has a break during All-Star the rest of the way. Deej, what was New York's record coming into this weekend?
Not good.
They were 1-2 with a -2 score differential, if memory serves me correct. Something like that. New York was 1-2 through the first 3 games. Deej, what was one of the constants for New York in their first 3 games?
In terms of
just in the games they played, something was a constant for them in those 3 games they played. Both games in their homecoming and then in Philadelphia.
Let me think about this.
It has nothing to do with the actual game. I'll give you that hint.
I'm
But
lost still.
So in New York's first 3 games, Deej, they played in the rain.
Oh, okay.
All 3 games in the rain. 1-2, bad score differential. Didn't look like themselves. Everyone says the sky's falling for New York. Deej, when they played on Saturday at 4 p.m. in Baltimore against Philadelphia, what was happening during that game?
A tornado?
No, it was quite sunny, beautiful weather, and the Atlas put up a 17-piece against Philadelphia. The New York offense hates playing in the rain.
Oh, shut up. Here we go with this shit.
The New York Atlas do not like the rain. They are anti-rain. They are pro-sun.
Somebody come get this man.
If you put the New York Atlas in the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe, they would be firebenders or earthbenders and would absolutely hate the Water Nation.
Will somebody please tell this man that these professional lacrosse players know how to play in the rain and that they just
I'm not saying they don't know how to play in the rain.
No.
I'm just saying they don't like the rain.
This is like the fourth time you've brought up the rain in the Atlas, bro. It's literally tiring me this season, bro. So tired of it.
I'm just saying. 1-2 versus 1-0.
I mean, you say like they didn't win a game at all in the rain, dog.
They're above 500.
No. Now, if they were 0-3, okay, I'd say we got a real conversation to have. But they won a game in the rain. They just lost the other two. It fucking happens.
It's very funny how you think I'm being extremely serious about this.
Oh, I know you're not. That's why I'm going so hard. No,
so upset.
There's no way you were for real about this because we got into it like in the press box or whatever about this.
You get so upset.
And I'm like, dude, it's not that bad. It's just a little rain. They've played in rain before. This isn't the first time. It's not going to be the last.
I will say, their one win in the rain was against Carolina.
Hey, a win is a win.
And they only won 10-8.
So a win is a win.
See if they play in the rain down the line, though.
A win is a win.
I'll just say, we'll be on meteorology watch.
A win is a win is a win is a win is a win.
Yeah. Leave us a voicemail and let me know if you think the New York Atlas hate rain. Speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod is the How We Live in hotline. That thing is open all the time. So if you want to get takes off about your favorite teams, whatever it may be, leave us a voicemail. Let me know if you think I'm crazy. Let me know if you agree with me on this rain take or anything else about your favorite team. Speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. And our breakdown also brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Guys, if you want to stand out in the crowd this PLL season with your favorite lacrosse players, favorite lacrosse podcast, PHI Apparel Company is the place to do it with their unique designs for all. There's no doubt in our minds you will stand out in the crowd. Guess what, everyone? We've got a PLL player repping OTB this weekend. Josh Balkersell will be wearing OTB merch to walk in on Friday as you're listening to this for the Redwoods Homecoming game against the Denver Outlaws. How you doing? Keep it moving. JB34 repping the brand. You can do the same. Go to phiapparel.co, and when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND. You'll get 10% off your entire merch order from our awesome pals at PHI Apparel Company. Again, that's code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your entire merch order from PHI Apparel Company, and stand out in the crowd with the official merch partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia and be like JB34 and rep your favorite lacrosse podcast. Deej, we head to California where the tree sap will be flowing. We've got PLL After Dark here on the East Coast. I will probably be doing a press conference from my vehicle or somewhere in Atlantic City because I will be at the Flyers draft party on Friday night. That lasts until 10 o'clock. So I might be home, but Deej, get the caffeine flowing for the people, okay? Because this is our schedule here, everybody. 9 p.m. Eastern, Outlaws Redwoods on ESPN Plus. And then 11:30 p.m. Eastern, we've got Archers Atlas on ESPN Plus. And then on Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, we got a little Philadelphia Water Dogs, California Redwoods on ESPN. going down. And then 8:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus, Saturday Night Lacrosse, Boston Cannons, Carolina Chaos, two teams that do not like each other. Don't know if that carries over because a lot of those Chaos guys are gone, but nonetheless, that defense and Blaze Reardon are still there. Get the caffeine flow on PLL After Dark. We'll start Redwoods Outlaws. Should be a fun one. How do you see this shaking out, Deej, between the Woods, the Laws, the talent that'll be flowing, and the Redwoods coming off a bye? Haven't seen the Redwoods since Philly.
How the last one go against these boys?
That's a great question that I don't remember off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
We won by like 3 or 4. Run it back. Run it back. Plain and simple. Am I a little more nervous than the first time? Yeah. Yeah, because they've already seen us. They kind of know the philosophy. But what I do feel great about is the fact that we're coming off that bye week. So we're nice and fresh rolling into this game, knowing that they just came off a win against the Archers. This is a great chance for us to separate ourselves in the Western Conference with 2 wins back-to-back this weekend. I think that's on the hunt. Got to take care of business first in this game, which will once again have that Kavanaugh head-to-head storyline to it and more. But I have a lot of trust in the fact that this has been a defense that has struggled, regardless of who's been in cage. And this offense has been on fire. I don't see the offense stopping anytime soon. Won't spoil. But, yeah, run it back.
I totally forgot that this matchup happened this season.
Yeah.
That's why I was like blanking on what happened the last time. But yeah, I mean, the last time these two teams played, Sam Hanley was on the Outlaws and Logan McNaney was not starting. So that is a new caveat there. And say what you want, Logan's looked phenomenal in his first 2 starts in the PLL. So I'm intrigued to see if that continues going. I didn't get a chance to see the Redwoods roster for this weekend, so let me pull that up really quick. But I mean, Cole Kastner being active for the first time in his career is exciting. I'm excited to see the boy do his thing. And I think he only makes that defense better. I am intrigued to see, BJ Ferrari picking up the short stick duties this week with Chris Merle being out for the year, sending our best to the boy, wishing for a speedy recovery there. Who do you think kind of gets the LSM duty alongside Jared Connors? Do you think it'll be Cole? Do you think it's Chris Conlon?
I think it's going to be Cole. I really don't see anybody being better from down low. I think, one, the chemistry piece of a close defense is very important. Chris Fake, Ardenko, and Chris Conlon have started to figure that out over the last 2 years. I don't think you really want to mess with that. They're in a nice little flow there. Everybody kind of knows where they're going to be, who's going to do what, etc. So that is great to know. In terms of like that piece, I would mess with that. And also Cole coming from basketball, the up and down, and his offensive prowess that he had at Virginia, I think he's the better option at LSM anyway.
Yeah, the Redwoods do have to release somebody once Cole practices. So we'll see who that ends up being. If I had to guess, it's probably Aiden Denanza.
Denenza, Knack, Cole Kirst, Nick Turn, Ogden. These are all guys who've been inactive basically the whole time.
Ogden has not played a game.
I mean, hey.
Like at least one. Like
him or Nick Turn. We traded for 2 guys. Well, we traded for a guy and signed a guy that have yet to play, and it does not make any sense to me. What is the point in doing that? Joe, answer me. Answer me, damn it.
Well, we were talking.
I'm more so what answers for Brendan than Ryan. Signing a guy and then thinking that
he didn't even sign Ryan.
Fair.
That was a Nat signing.
But still, signing a guy and thinking that he could be a part of the team and then he isn't makes total sense. And like you get him in training camp and everything, and you're like, okay, maybe not. Mm-hmm. That makes more sense than trading a guy, pick, or whatever you trade for him to then not have him play. That makes no sense to me. I think that at that point, we should have traded someone else for that, or not traded at all and just signed him later, whatever the case may have been, to not waste a trade on a guy that wasn't going to play.
Well, we were talking pre-pod too, because that trade happened earlier in the offseason than when our guy JB34 was signed. And I think that threw a wrench in Nick Turn being able to crack the roster, was that spot is now occupied by Josh Balkersell. But then obviously on the flip side, you and I also talked about, like, what is Romar Dennis showcase to, and that's nothing against Romar. It's just like, get another look, get a guy who hasn't been able to play, see what he can do, which is also like, why is Ryan Ogevin not played? It's one of those things that I'm stunned by that, where yes, it wasn't necessarily Joe Spallina and Anthony Kelly signing, but like Ogvin's won 2 championships and has been a crucial part into why the Archers won those titles, and being a guy in that midfield who has stretched the field for them and has been a dynamic piece for them in big stage type games, and he can't crack the roster. That's a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, it's just like being able to have different looks and being able to navigate between those looks. Like, I think somebody who's sneakily done this really well is Jim Stagnita and Drew Snyder. They've kind of mixed in guys at different positions in the middle of games, and now they've gotten different looks at their offense with different guys in different places, and they know kind of where they can pivot at different times, which is going to be useful at other times in the season. We haven't seen that as much with other teams, and I think it turns out to be kind of a disadvantage. And I feel like especially your homecoming weekend is a great time to do that, because you have the reserves that you can swap out for that second game. This would have been a great time to use Nick Turn or Ogevin. What scares me more about Nick Turn not playing so far is why. What is it that has him not playing that we don't know? Like you mentioned, is he not in shape? Is he hurt? Is there still something going on with his military obligations? Is it personal? Is it family? Like, we don't know. And that's kind of the transparency piece we'd like a little bit more with in the league.
And the Redwoods signed Carter Parlett this week in lieu of Chris Merle going down as well. So that also makes sense. They signed him. He has to be on the active roster this week. So that's why he's on the protected roster. I would assume we'll see him obviously in game 2 against the Water Dogs, which also gives you a chance to see what BJ can do, because I would be kind of surprised if you pull Carter Rice or Brian Tevlin with the way they've played so far this year. Obviously, you're not going to pull Tev, but I think BJ Ferrari probably gets the, no pun intended, short end of the stick there for Carter Parlett to get his first regular season PLL game under his belt. But good for Carter. He's stuck around and now has an opportunity to be on a team during the regular season. And everything else, for the most part, for the Redwoods, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Dylan Malloy's been unbelievable so far. Ryder Garnsey's been great. Chris Cav's been great. Offensively, they've got the pieces. Now it's, let's see what they can do with 2 games. Let's see what Anthony Kelly and Blacklick can do in a 2-game weekend. I'm not all that concerned about the defense coaching-wise, because Chris Collins has done this for a couple years now with the Redwoods. So it's going to be interesting to see how the offense performs. And we'll stick with the Redwoods here with the Water Dogs. Deej, how are you feeling as a fan about the Redwoods putting out that they've never lost to the Water Dogs?
I love it. Bring that energy. Bring that, like, man, what? I would talk. I always talk trash when we play the Water Dogs.
I've
actually
seen
get excited.
so many people.
I get so excited. I'm like, oh yeah, this is that team we don't lose to in the regular season. Dub. Like to me, it's just an automatic dub on the schedule. We play Water Dogs in the regular season, put a W there. Playoffs might be a little different, but regular season, it's a dub. Why should I be mad that we flexing? The way I see it is, they should beat us, so we got to shut up. Get better.
Hey, I was happy the last time y'all beat us.
I wasn't. I was furious.
That
was the one time I wanted.
Hey,
that was the one time I wanted us to lose in the regular season to the Water Dogs. We had one job: secure a generational talent, whether he was going to be healthy or not. We needed him in a Redwoods jersey.
Y'all are fine.
I mean,
McAdory's a front runner for Rookie of the Year.
It worked out, but we not gonna act like CJ Kirsch ain't who CJ Kirsch is. All right, y'all are welcome.
My only shock with the Water Dogs roster this weekend for this game is Eli Gobrecht's on the protected roster. I know the boy Christian Scarpello is back, so he's going to play. But I was surprised that Eli being a fixture on this team for as long as he has and kind of being a Swiss Army knife for this team and can kind of be a jack of all trades. No matter what you do, you can throw Eli in a spot and he'll be able to play it. Him being on the protected roster was a little bit of a shocker. Ryland Reese still having trouble cracking the roster. He's also on the protected roster this week. Jimmy Freehill's back. Listed at close D for the first time, even though he's kind of swapped in-game, he and Marcus Hudgens. And I think what Marcus Hudgens did last week against the Atlas was like, yeah, let's keep him on the wing and see what he can do, scooping up ground balls and everything. Mikey Schlosser's back in the lineup. But everything else pretty much for the Water Dogs is status quo, nothing too crazy. I'm excited that Scarpello's back. That's our guy. He's battled back from a little injury, and he's also been coaching, so it's good to get him back. Some more short stick depth. And in terms of guys that are out for the Water Dogs this weekend, it is Mikey Boehm, Di Benedetto, Lampert, and then Charlie Hayes is back from his injured reserve stint. So nothing too crazy with the Water Dogs, but it should be a good one. It's on ESPN. Definitely tune in on Saturday. Nice little interconference battle there between the Dogs and the Woods. Archer's Atlas should be very, very interesting. 11:30 Eastern time start. Get the caffeine going. Eyes are going to be bulging out of our heads. This is a test, I think, for both teams. The Atlas offense looked like themselves again last week. Does that continue? The Archers faltered down the stretch against the Outlaws. Can they find their stride again? Can they kind of find some consistency on that offense? No Matt Moore this weekend. So we're getting the debut of Merklinger this weekend. He'll be up at attack for Matt Moore.
Maybe. You might run mid. We might get Tom Schreiber back on the wing or something. Grant Ament might be back at X. We have no clue who's rolling out.
Just based off the listing is what I'm going off of.
Fair, but I just wanted to throw that caveat out there. And more as a protection, because I don't want nobody trying. You're saying, pipe down, people. We know how these things go. No,
they hate that. Get down.
Unhinged.
Colby Bars, John Robbins. It's been kind of surprising how little John Robbins has been in the lineup this year for the Archers, but Cam Wires has played well since he's been back. I saw that man almost get decapitated this weekend too. God damn. The Outlaws put that boy in a chokehold of all chokeholds. And then he came out of that thing laughing like the fucking Joker. He's a sicko. I love Cam Wires. But that's kind of been what the talk has been there at the LSM spot for them. It's going to be a revolving rotation for them. I mean, like we said earlier, they are a championship caliber team. We will see what the Archers are going to be able to do. I'm not panicking if I'm an Archers fan. They have the talent, they have the coaching staff, and kind of the leadership from that aspect. You know, you have Tom Schreiber, you have Ryan Ambler to be like, hey, we just got to look ourselves in the mirror and be like, we got this. We'll figure things out. We'll be all right. No Miles Jones again this weekend for the Atlas back-to-back weeks. He's on the protected roster this week. Peyton Razanka out of the lineup, so they're still kind of going to traditional short sticks and then a little rotation action. Jake Stevens listed at short stick this week for New York. Michael Grace back in there at LSM again. What do you make of Miles kind of being sheltered away the past couple weeks?
Best guys play. I mean, we're not going to act like he hasn't been, in professional lacrosse for 8 years now, 9 years. He was in college in 2017. He graduated college, 2016, 2017. Like, he's reaching the older spectrum of lacrosse players. And when you don't produce the same as you used to as an older player, you get replaced by younger guys that are putting up numbers. This is nothing new. It hurts for me because, one, it makes me feel old, and two, Miles will forever be one of my favorite players. So I don't want to see him in a position where he's getting phased out necessarily. But at the end of the day, these teams have a goal, and the goal is to win a championship. And if you're not contributing accurately and helping them achieve that goal in a way that you need to, you're going to be replaced by someone who does. It's the way sports work.
I also don't think he's played all that poorly.
No, I don't think he's played poorly, but I mean, it's one of those things where you got to make a change. You got to switch it up, right? You're below 500. You're looking for a spark. You're trying to find something that works. You go with something new. You win a game. How do you go back to what wasn't working? You kind of have to stick with what helped you win this game until it proves to not work again. And I think that's kind of the scenario you're in is, well, we took Miles out, made a couple changes. It worked for us. Let's roll it again this week to see if it works again. So I think it's more off of the success of last week rather than the play of Miles Jones.
Hashtag free Kobe Smith.
I don't know if he's going to get free, big dog.
Free Kobe Smith. They just holding on to that boy. They're just like, yeah, you're going to be on the roster, but you ain't going to play. Kyle Jackson also inactive this week for New York. Kind of no surprise there, just from a traveling perspective. Like, KJ lives on the East Coast. They just had their third baby. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the boy to fly out to San Diego for one game. And then the other game this weekend is Boston, Carolina. How bad is the score differential going to be in this game?
I mean, it could be really bad or it could not be so bad. The problem is we don't know what Cannon's team is going to show up. Because we have seen that offense play well. We have seen that offense put some things together. And when that offense is rolling, the defense normally plays well off that energy as well. But also, we don't know what Blaze Reardon we're going to get. If Blaze shows up and makes 8 saves in the first quarter, you're toast.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a real hard day for you to score. So I think that's the harder thing is I think we know what we're going to get with Cannons. They're going to come out. They're going to play hard. They're going to look to to create their opportunities where they get them and bury them. We just don't know what we're going to get from Chaos.
Yeah. No Donville, Graydon Hogg, Brian Kelly, Will Manny, the inactives for the Cannons this week. I mean, Coulter Mackessy's looked really, really good to start his career. Asher's been dishing. Marcus Holman's going for 500 again this week after being shut out last week. Brian Holman said that Mick Kelly's kind of working his way into being a mainstay in that midfield. He's played his way into it. And I think this weekend's roster is kind of just what you're going to typically see from the Cannons. So, a couple rotations here and there, depending on the matchups and everything. But this Cannons roster that you're seeing this weekend is kind of going to be, I think, par for the course and what the Cannons are trying to put together. Chaos-wise, I don't know. I don't know about this team anymore. They are until they show like something. It's fascinating. Degnan, Cross Farrar, Pat Resch, Nick Rowlett, the inactives. Zawada's back in the lineup. I know you love that. I also have said it's kind of fascinating that Josh Zawada being inactive, like he's probably one of their best just pure talent guys. So I'm glad he's back. I don't know. Eric Dobson and Scott Smith are on the protected roster, or should I say Scott V. Smith? Yeah, like you said, I think it's a bigger question mark of what fucking Chaos team are we getting this week than anything else. It's a roll of the dice every single week. Maybe that's why they're using checkerboards, not just the race culture and the racing culture in Carolinas. Maybe it's supposed to look like a dice roll because that shit is dicey down there in Carolina. But those are the matchups. Get the caffeine flowing. Final weekend before All-Star break. And I think it's going to be fascinating. What are your big wants, takeaways, expectations for this weekend, Deej?
I only have one. And I think you could guess. For the Woods to be the first team this year to go 2-0 at home. That's it. I don't really care about the rest of it. I don't. That is my sole focus of the weekend. Is rooting the Redwoods to a successful 2-0 homecoming weekend.
You can keep up to date with everything going on this weekend in the PLL app. Our PLL app code brings you our weekend preview. The PLL app is your one-stop shop for everything going on in the Premier Lacrosse Leagues. Keep up to the second with everything going on, from articles from the beat writers to behind-the-scenes videos, trivia, fantasy, you name it, it's in the PLL app, and it's a gamified app. So you're earning experience points with doing things in the app, completing tasks, answering trivia. It's truly the coolest app on the planet. Download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, and when you go to the redeem code section, use code OTBPOD. That's code OTBPOD, and you'll get 500 XP on your account. Again, download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, and use code OTBPOD in the redeem code section to get 500 XP on your account. DJ, I think without any further ado, we head on over to the pick pond and dish out our PLL San Diego picks of the week. We'll feed some ducks here. Our picks of the week brought to you by Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Maryland, Pittsburgh, and Delaware areas. You can also find Kenwood Beer at your local liquor stores in those markets. Again, that's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And as always, guys, please drink responsibly. I know Hoots is not on the episode today, but I do have his picks, and I have our records, Deej. Tough week last week for the boys. You and I are sitting at 7-9 so far this season, and Hoots is sitting at 5-11 on the year. It's been some tough sledding since our hot start, but we'll see if we can right the ship here. We start 9 p.m. Eastern time, a little Western Conference rematch already this season. It is the California Redwoods and the Denver Outlaws. Hoots is rolling with the Outlaws in this one. Deej, I don't think I even have to ask you, but I will ask you your pick for this one.
Gotta pick that team whose home stadium is out west. A team that wears white sometimes. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, I'm picking the Redwoods.
It's like you haven't narrowed it down yet.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
Oh.
I'm done.
I am also taking the Redwoods in this one. Coming off a bye. You're at home. Home fans behind you. More often than not, the home team's winning that first game. So I'm going with California to get the dub. In the first one, we go to 11:30 Eastern. Utah, New York, interconference matchup. Hoots is going with the New York Atlas. I'm going with the Utah Archers. I think Matt Moore being out of the lineup does hurt. But I think the Archers just have kind of that perspective of we need to figure some things out. We know what we need to figure out. I also think the Archers have a better defense overall. From Hasek to Warren Jeffrey, the way Lavelle has been playing to start his career, the way Mason Woodward is a Swiss Army knife for them on the defense. Their short sticks are one of, if not the best unit in the league. The big question is going to be consistent at the stripe against Trevor. That remains to be seen. But I am going with the Archers to get the dub. I think this game's very close. It could be our first overtime game of the year, but I'm going with Utah.
I'm going with Archers as well. I just don't have the faith in Atlas quite yet. Last week was good, and it was a step in the right direction. Taking down the Archers this week would give me a little more cause to start leaning toward the Atlas direction.
We moved to 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. It's the California Redwoods' second game of their homecoming, taking on the Philadelphia Water Dogs. Hoots is going with California, kind of pulling the Whipsnakes of last week, losing the first, winning the second. Deej, we already know your answer, but I'll let you answer. Who you got?
Yeah, you said we talking about that team that that's never beat us in the regular season. It's a regular season game. Let me. Yeah. Roll Woods.
I am simply using trends for this pick. This is going to be a very fun game. I like the matchups
Come to the
across the board. More often than not, we see teams win the first game of their homecoming, lose the second. Deej, I'm going to ask you a question. Who's that coming down the track? Oh, that's right. It's the Mean Machine in the purple and black. Go Dogs. I'm taking the Water Dogs to get the win. We move to the final game. of San Diego weekend is the Carolina Chaos, the Boston Cannons. Hoots is taking the Cannons. I'm taking the Cannons. Deej, let the people know that you're taking the Cannons, as far as I know.
I'm gonna get a little gushy here. Of course, I'm taking the Cannons. We now share the same breakdown. So our summer program, we started going back to our old motto of brothers on a mission, brothers on one mission, which is an acronym for
I can't stand you.
Brothers on One Mission.
Oh, I know.
Boom. Which happens to be what the Cannons say when they break down. They say boom on one, 3, 2, 1. Guess who else says boom on one? Bandits on my team. We go 3, 2, 1, boom. So yeah.
Do you
boom
guys
on one. 3, 2, 1, boom.
Do you guys give 5 big booms?
Oh no. Because we ain't doing all that. One boom, and it's on one. 3, 2, 1, boom.
Yeah. I think everyone and their mother is taking the Cannons this weekend after the performance the Chaos gave, and that's no slight to them. It's just that's how it be. That's how it be. Until you show us, we gotta go with the Boom Squad. So I'm going Cannons. Deej is going Cannons. Hoots is going Cannons. So there it is. Our PLL San Diego picks of the week look a little something like this. Deej, you and I are both taking California in game 1 of their homecoming. Hoots is going Denver. You and I are both going Utah. Hoots is going New York. Hoots also told me for one of his picks, he flipped a coin. A literal coin flip with how bad his picks have been.
That's hilarious.
You and Hoots are going with California in the second game. I'm going with the Dogs. And then we all have the Cannons as our lone sweep of the weekend. And those are your PLL San Diego picks of the week, brought to you by Kenwood Beer. Should be a fun weekend. I'm excited for the copious amounts of caffeine that I'll be indulging to be awake to give the people the press conference questions they are asking and craving. And speaking of ESPN, Dogs and Woods on ESPN this weekend. A new TV deal, Deej. ESPN, not for 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 of them things. 5 years, ESPN, WLL, PLL. ESPN now a minority shareholder in the PLL. A lot of chatter online. A lot of chatter. Whether this is good, bad, in between. A lot of people talking about, I miss when games weren't on ESPN Plus. I don't remember a time when things have been more accessible for this sport than when the PLL ESPN initial deal happened. They're talking about how this deal is going to set up schedule expansion, more benefits for players, and a whole lot more. A whole lot more. And I'm fully here to tell everyone. The people that are out and about talking about how the PLL stinks, how Mike and Paul stink, how ESPN stinks. They don't like the fact that the PLL has been successful. They're the ones that when the PLL first happened were, oh, I'm sticking with the MLL or die. You know, the PLL is not going to last. It's not going to work. We're now closer in proximity to the PLL being around for a decade than we are to it not existing. Okay. Everything that Mike and Paul and the rest of the PLL have done, from Rachel to Checo to all the front office people, has been done so methodically and has been done with a purpose. And people just want to be downers for the sake of being downers. Now, while we don't know all the ins and outs of the TV deal, one, everything we've seen of the PLL being on ESPN, pretty damn good. Pretty damn good, I'd say. Deej, would you concur that it's been pretty damn good on ESPN?
Hey, ESPN, ESPN Plus, 2 News, ESPNU. I don't care where it's going. They're putting out a much better product than what we were getting before.
We've also seen more exposure of PLL players in mainstream media because of the ESPN deal, from guys on SportsCenter, the SportsCenter top 10. We've now had 3 straight weeks of PLL players being the number 1 play on SportsCenter top 10. We're getting post-game interviews on SportsCenter. We're getting ESPN features. This, without even knowing the details, is a massive, massive win for the PLL, for the WLL, for the players, the coaches, for the league, and the people saying, "Oh, we're getting too much Paul. He's the most marketable player in pro lacrosse history
Ever.
I think it's a pretty damn smart idea to have the face of your league, the guy who started it all, be on camera to market the product. It's pretty smart. Because guess what? Outside of the weird bozos over here, Deej, that want to just be anti-Paul, anti-Mike, anti the Rabels, whatever, Paul Rabel's been a pretty damn good president of a sports league. We bitch and moan about the other commissioners in sports for whatever reasons, here, there, in between. I'm coming from a fully unbiased perspective here. Because yes, do I know Paul personally? For sure. Do I like what Paul has done? Absolutely. Has Paul supported us? Absolutely. But guess what? Every chess piece that Paul has moved on the board to make the PLL what it is has been a positive one. There's been very few actual fans of the sport who have been critical of what Paul has done, what Mike has done since the PLL has come to fruition. Have there been nuances of the actual happenings on the field that people have been kind of iffy about? Sure. Rule changes, some of the face-off stuff, absolutely. But for the most part, it has been overwhelmingly positive for 7 years of the PLL's existence. And ESPN recognizing that is a win. ESPN becoming a minority shareholder in the league is a win. WLL being a part of this is a massive win for women's sports. I'm thrilled about this. And you should be, if you're a lacrosse fan, if you're a fan of the PLL, the WLL, whatever it may be, you should be excited about this.
The point with Paul is the more marketable lacrosse becomes, the better. As more people become familiar with lacrosse and more players become known in mainstream media and as quote-unquote household names, you'll see them more in the media. It's not this thing where Paul wants to live in the media because he's the most important person. He's the only person he cares about. It's just relevancy. A person who might not know as much about lacrosse is more likely to know Paul Rabel than anyone else. Or if they've been in tune with any PLL, they know Paul Rabel's name. So when they see Paul, they'll be like, oh, okay, this is PLL stuff. And then as they get more acclimated with PLL, they'll know more players. That's when you can start to put more players in those mainstream places on ESPN, et cetera. And like, it's not like we don't see other commissioners on ESPN for other sports. There's going to be opportunities. I think it will fade out as the players become bigger. He won't have to be on ESPN as much. It'll be more of those specific situations like we see with other leagues. This is just the beginning, and they're using the most marketable face to make sure it sells. That just sounds like good marketing and selling and promotion. Like, that's just what you're supposed to do.
Oh, good business?
Like, hello. I forgot. I know nothing about that. I know nothing about business, so maybe I have no clue what I'm talking about. And ESPN buying in to the tune that they did only shows that what they have done works and has been working. Whether
And
it's
it sets a precedent.
whether it's the Paul angle or it's the way they've handled broadcasts, how they push out, certain notifications and news and highlights to people, or just their overall coverage of the game from both pro leagues, now the women's league and college. Like, they're doing everything they can to push lacrosse into the media with the way we need it to be, and we're complaining about it. I don't understand.
And it sets a precedent for your other favorite sports leagues. You're meaning to tell me now the NFL doesn't see ESPN buying into the PLL as a shareholder? You're meaning to tell me the NBA doesn't see that? Major League Baseball doesn't see that? The NHL doesn't see that? The MLS doesn't see that? This could affect multiple TV deals in a positive way, that you get more out of your leagues pending whomever the TV deals are with. This is such a huge, monumental, facet of this TV deal, and I'm genuinely excited about it. We are going to have, when we first started covering lacrosse, this is BCDJ. I never expected it to get to where it is so quickly, where it is now. I thought this was going to be a long burn. At the time when we started, it was 2 pro leagues going for field. I never expected the merger to happen as quickly as it did. I never expected to see the growth we've had since 2019 and be where we're at now as quickly as we have. All of that is because of the chess pieces moving methodically from Paul and Mike and the rest of the PLL front office and everyone who makes this big ass machine run. And I even told Grace this weekend, I said, it's a credit to you guys and a tip of the cap to you guys. Every single weekend outside of Albany, because it was training camp, Paul and Mike have not been there. They haven't had to be there. They're around doing other things to help grow the league. They haven't had to be at a weekend yet. That's a kudos to everyone else involved in making a PLL weekend successful, and should be praised a lot more than what it will be. And it's a credit to everyone who works at the PLL. It is amazing that nothing skips a beat without those 2 guys there. And this is really the first time that's been a thing. There's been very few weekends prior to this where Paul, Mike, or both of them have been absent. And now the league's just able to do it, and nothing skips a beat. That's growth for not only a sports league, but for a business. When your big founder, CEO, president don't have to be present every single day. That's how you know you're succeeding.
I mean, there's multiple ways that you can point at and look at for the PLL and see the success. Paul and Mike are just one example. ESPN and their commitment is another example. The atmosphere at events is another example. But I think just a continued lean in support from the biggest sports entertainment business is like the best stamp of approval you can get. Hey, this thing that only operates in sports wants you. That means you're doing everything you need to do to be in the best place for sports. It's going to take time to be a mainstream thing that we see on ESPN consistently, ESPN2, but it's taking all the right steps, so there's 0 reasons to be upset.
100%. So yeah, leave us a voicemail. Let us know how you feel about the ESPN deal. Speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. One other thing that I wanted to bring up that happened this week. Congratulations to Marcus Holman and Alex Ostholman. They announced that they're having a baby. Couldn't be happier for genuinely two of the nicest people that we've ever met. Like, Marcus has always been so good to us. Hopefully we'll be on this show one day. And same with Alex. Every interaction I've had with Alex has been unbelievable. She's so kind, so sweet. Like, they're going to be incredible parents. And I know Brian is probably doing backflips that he's going to be a grandpa.
Hey, one of our favorite lacrosse families grows bigger. So it's always an exciting time. That kid is going to have lacrosse running through his veins from now until the end of time. So I'm just excited to see just the happiness that they're going to get as a family, but also just the lacrosse legacy continue to grow on.
It's like Wolf of Wall Street. The show goes on
forever and ever.
So congratulations to Marcus and Alex. Speaking of TV deals, Steege, we know where the PLL and the WLL will be for the next 5+ years. We don't necessarily know the NLL TV deal or whether or not one of these teams will be on said TV deal if it gets done. News broke this week that has been swirled around for quite some time. That as of June 30th, so this coming Monday, the current operations for the Rochester Knighthawks will cease to exist. Pete Gwelly, the chief operating officer, put out a statement. It said, as of June 30th, we will no longer operate the Rochester Knighthawks. We've been working closely with the National Lacrosse League, and we will continue to assist the league as it pursues new ownership opportunities. We would like nothing more than to see professional lacrosse continue in Rochester. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you to all of our fans for the support of the team over the last 6 years. We know how important this team is to the city and how passionate the fans are about the sport of box lacrosse. We know the NLL will work tirelessly to pursue the best path forward for the franchise. I got two things to say just from this statement alone. Number one, we would like nothing more than to see professional lacrosse continue in Rochester. I'm going to do a little on the pod research here. Look up Pete Gwelly's net worth. Oh, look at that. Deej, as of April 1st, 2025, the Pagulas, who are the owners of the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, the Buffalo Bandits, who also were operating the Knighthawks. The Pagulas' net worth, as of April 1st, 2025, is up to $7.6 billion, according to Forbes. If you would like nothing more than to see professional lacrosse continue in Rochester, and you had the money to do it, why not use some of that money to ensure that professional lacrosse would continue in Rochester? And you know how important the team is to the city and how passionate the fans are about the sport of box lacrosse. If you know how passionate they are, why would you not find a way to continue to make sure that they can stay passionate about the team and about the sport in Rochester? It blows my mind how billionaires are able to accumulate their net worth, accumulate their funds. And at the same time, not all, but some are so fucking stupid. There's no common sense. There's no street smarts with these fucking billionaires. Because you put out a statement like this And guess what? There's a simple way to fix it. Fund the fucking team. But guess what? You're too concerned about the Buffalo Bills and banning the tush push and worrying about how are we ever going to get over the hump and beat Patrick Mahomes when this is pocket change to your net worth. It blows my mind how stupid some people are. I hope an ownership comes in and makes sure the Nighthawks stay in Rochester, because it would be a catastrophe. And we said this when Panther City folded. We said this when New York left the hotbed of New York to go to Ottawa. It is not a positive trend that year after year after year after year that the National Lacrosse League continues to have teams cease operations, relocate, change hands, and then out of thin air with this announcement for the Nighthawks, it's just like, oh yeah, next week we're done. We're out of here. We're wiping our hands clean. A nice little Monday news dump for the people, Tuesday news dump, whatever it was, to say, hey, fans, we appreciate you guys, but in a week, your team's in limbo because we're done. We're out of here. What an embarrassment.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this. Thought on it for a few days, and there just isn't really a lot coming other than it's a travesty. The players just have had like 2 or 3 really good seasons. They've started to make strides. They've started to become a playoff team. They started to have players who are, competing for end of the year awards, winning those awards, and shining. Fans are starting to come out. They're enjoying it. They're buying into what you're selling, and then all of a sudden you say you're not selling it anymore. It just doesn't make sense. You revamp the uniforms. You put money into the team. You made the right decisions and bringing people there to drop it all. Why get 2 teams in the first place if you weren't thinking of keeping 2 teams for the long term? It doesn't make sense.
And why that's even allowed is beyond me. And that's no offense, even though I just kind of took a proverbial shit on them, to the Pegulas, to Josai and his ownership groups of the Seals and the Vegas Desert Dogs. Why a sports league would allow that to happen? And I put that out on Twitter. I said, is there anything like that in sports with active leagues, with active, franchises? The only thing that my good friend OJ Spivey, friend of the network, writes for the Philly Tribune, the only thing that's close enough is the Rams and the Broncos because of marriage. Everything else outside of the sport of lacrosse, it's individualized ownership groups or owners for every single team. It feels weird when we sit here and we see the San Diego Seals and the Vegas Desert Dogs have come to terms on a trade. When the Rochester Knighthawks and the Buffalo Bandits came to terms on a trade, it will never sit right with me the way that Connor Fields went from the Buffalo Bandits to then being selected by the Vegas Desert Dogs in the expansion draft, to then being traded to Rochester to play for a team that's owned by the same team that let him go unprotected in the expansion draft. It's just weird. That should not be a thing. And the NLL wants to bill themselves as the next major league. Then maybe have individualized ownership groups. Maybe have ownership groups or owners that give a fuck about not only the people in the organization, but also the people that are paying the salaries of the players, the coaches, and the people in your front office. Because the way the league has operated the past couple of years and just alienating fans by having multiple relocations, having teams fold, having an out of thin air announcement with no build up to being like, yeah, we're not going to operate the Nighthawks anymore. Sorry about it. It's like Robot SpongeBob. Maybe I don't feel like it. That's what it comes across as. It's embarrassing. It's not a good look for the league. It's not a good look for the fans. It's not a good look for anybody. And if the unfortunate happens where a dispersal draft happens with this team, you're putting the league's reigning MVP up for grabs. The Rochester Knighthawks produced the NLL MVP this year, and the COO comes out and says, we're done. We're out of here. Nice knowing you guys. It's gross, man. And like, as brutal as it would be, I hope the players give the owners hell during those contract negotiations for the CBA. I hope the players make it a bloodbath. I hope they say, do you see how you're treating organizations? Do you see how you're treating fans? Do you see how you're treating markets where we could end up going in free agency? I hope the players give the owners absolute hell. I hope it gets ugly at this point because the players deserve better. We're a pro player podcast. We always have been. We always will be. We respect what the owners are able to do, but at the end of the day, your product is the players. They're the ones that are bringing the ticket sales in, the jersey sales. They're the ones that are giving you the ability to sell concessions. And for a COO and an organization to just come out and wipe their hands clean with 1 week's notice and leaving a legacy city in the National Lacrosse League, from the old Nighthawks to what they're building now, in such a state of limbo and such a state of uncertainty of whether or not they're going to have a team to root for next year, is just absolutely embarrassing. And I hope the players are able to be a part of this team. I hope they don't have to have a dispersal draft, because my goodness, would that get ugly. And then you have even more talent spread amongst fewer teams, and then a lot of guys are losing out on jobs who had a job just a year ago because there was an additional team in the league.
I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that the players may have known. There's a chance ownership and such told coach and players like, hey, a lot of talks are happening. There's a good chance, we cough things up and try and move on and find new ownership. Team may get relocated. Team may not exist anymore. So just be prepared to A, still be in Rochester under new management, B, in a new place under new management, or C, going somewhere completely new in a dispersal draft. We don't know how the chips may fall. So I do want to give them that benefit of the doubt because it very well may have happened. We just don't have that transparency. A dispersal draft would be horrible. I think it's a horrible sign for the league, and is really all the more reason why the PLL shouldn't settle down yet, because these are problems that could arise with the PLL. Some foreshadowing things. I think you saw that with the MLO as well. Like, lacrosse is not quite at the point to have owners or ownership leagues without possible fallout. It's just not established enough as a sport in either league to make that kind of jump yet. That's kind of what we've seen the last couple of years. Even Panther City now, you can loop into there. Would love relocation, obviously. All the jokes, Grand Rapids is more than open. But in all seriousness, there's a purple and silver team that used to play on the east side of the state that I live in that would love to return is the Detroit Turbos. That could also be a great relocation spot for Rochester. Um, I don't really like going back to Texas quite yet. Um, maybe Minnesota again could be a good spot. Maybe another team along the East Coast could be another good spot, but realistically, I think Rochester was a great place to be, and you got to try and get back there.
Yeah, you have to exhaust all options to stay in. It's such a legacy city for the NLL, from the old Knighthawks, who were unbelievable, to what they've been building now. Like we said, like, you have one of the best players in pro lacrosse right now, Field Box in between, in Connor Fields, who is from the area. On top of that, so you have one of the best players in the league and in the sport in your market because he's from there, being like an ambassador for the Rochester area. You have young stars like Thomas McConvey, Graydon Hogg, Ryan Smith, Ryland Reese is on this team. Like Brad Gillies, Turner Evans, Ryan Lanchberry, another young player, Curtis Knight. Like Sis is on this team. There's so many guys that are just so talented, and I genuinely don't think the NLL can afford to have back-to-back years of a dispersal draft. You want to talk about bad in terms of optics, in terms of a future TV deal. You're talking about, people coming in for a TV deal being like, hey, you've had back-to-back years of teams folding. What are we going to gain from that, and a potential of more? Like, it sets such a bad precedent where they cannot allow this team to fold. Like, that is a near death sentence for a lot of things with this league.
I don't know about near death, but it's not a great sign. 2 years in a row is terrible.
You're approaching like a coma state.
Yeah. It's clear that you're getting pale, and people are asking if everything's okay. I think that's kind of where they're at right now. Not quite an alarm button, but they're dangerously close to pushing it. It's
like the NLL has to realize
don't know.
Not every team is going to operate like Buffalo, which is ironic to say because it's the same fucking ownership group this team has, but not everywhere is going to be like Buffalo. And that's okay. It's okay to have different outcomes of attendance and different, just like levels of team. Not everywhere is going to be Buffalo, and the league has to recognize that. And I feel like they don't right now, and that's not good. To try, like, yes, should Buffalo be the gold standard for eventually what every market should be? For sure. It's not going to get there overnight. And I feel like the league is just trying to push these teams to be as close to Buffalo right away. That takes time. That takes attention to detail. That takes like so much that people don't realize that not everywhere is going to be Buffalo.
Yeah, like every place is unique. Every place is different. Every place is going to have a vibe that works for them. Rochester was finding that. It looked to be fun inside the arena. Obviously hadn't been there yet or ever. Don't know how this is going to shake out. But from what I could see, from the screen, people enjoyed being there. The team liked playing there. The energy was great inside the building. And now you're kind of taking that away from not only the players, but the fans as well. All because it's not working out like a team down the road. Like, that would be like the Bears not playing football anymore because they're not the Packers. Like, yeah, Soldier Field isn't Lambeau Field. They wear green and yellow, you wear blue and orange. Like, you're different teams for different reasons in different cities that have different vibes. Find what works for your fans, your team, your city, your stadium, your vibe, and you roll with it. And then you make that into the best of what it could be, and you strive to make that consistent. That's how you make a sports team work in any city.
Yep. It's not the way we want to be talking about the NLL on an end of June episode of the podcast. That's for sure. You can sound off. I definitely would love to hear from Rochester Knighthawks fans. I know we have a good contingent of them who listen to the show, who watch the show. Leave us a voicemail, how you're feeling. We want to get your opinions because genuinely, I think one of the most powerful things that can happen in sports is voicing your opinion about your team, no matter what state they're in. So Knighthawks fans, give us a buzz, speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod, and let us know how you're feeling, what you want to see happen, how it's all going to shake out. Who do you want to buy the team? Because, I feel horrible for Knighthawks fans. And it's something that as sports fans, you never want to have this experience. You never want to be going through a potential spell where your favorite team goes away forever. Like, that's just, I don't know how I would function if that happened to one of my teams.
I mean, here in the Midwest, I'd literally just cry. We already only have so many opportunities, and now you're taking another one from me. I think people in Rochester will feel a little more about the scratch that. I think the people around Rochester will feel a little bit more about this than anyone else. Now that drive is farther. They got to go all the way to Albany, all the way to Buffalo, all the way to Philadelphia to watch a game. Like, that's a lot for them, rather than being able to go 30, 40, an hour or less to a game. That means a lot to people. It changes the dynamics of things for people. They're going to 4, 5, 6 games a year. That just got chopped to 1 to 2 because now they got to get a hotel possibly. Now they have to pay a bunch of gas, plus food, plus tickets. This is huge for not only the amount of money that a team in the league is making, but just eyeballs, fanship, and just overall support. It's a lot easier for people to pump up a sport that they see right in their backyard than one that they have to travel for.
Plus, Rochester fans have gone through this not once before, but twice before this. The original Knighthawks left to go to Halifax, and then they brought in the new Rochester Knighthawks. But on top of that, field lacrosse fans in Rochester went through this when the Rochester Rattlers, that are on my head right now, went to Dallas. Like, Rochester has felt this type of like removal of an institution far too much, and they're too good of fans to be dealing with anything like this. So definitely want to hear from Rochester Knighthawks fans how you're feeling, what you want to see done, and I wouldn't wish team dispersal on anybody. It just feels like a not good time whatsoever. So should be a fun weekend though, to turn the vibes in San Diego. If you're going to the games, let us know. We also have our photography Avenger of the weekend, Deej. Shout out to Olivia, who was in Baltimore with us this past weekend. She absolutely crushed it. Go follow Olivia on Instagram. She's been posting a ton of photos from this past weekend. But also this weekend in San Diego, we have our new pal, I believe Zach Weens. Weens is his last name. Go check him out. He's going to be awesome for us. I'm very excited to see what he's able to capture this coming weekend. He's planning a bunch of stuff, so definitely follow Zach on Instagram. He's like fresh out of high school too, like just graduated high school. So I'm very excited for what Zach's going to be able to do this weekend in San Diego. His Instagram handle is zachweens.media. That's ZACKWIENS.media. I'm excited just seeing his stuff on his Instagram. I'm pumped for what he's going to be able to capture. And once again, If you are in the Chicago area, you're a photographer, you want to come do some work with the boys for Chicago Weekend, Deej will be there. Slide in our DMs, or you can shoot us an email, undergroundsportsphi@gmail.com. We are looking for a photographer for Chicago Weekend and for Minneapolis for the quarterfinals. So if you or someone you know is a photographer in those areas, send them our way, because those are the only 2 weekends we need a photographer for, which will be fantastic. Make sure you guys are following us at OTB LaxPod across the board. A little lacrosse after dark this weekend on the West Coast. Going to be a fun time on the socials. Follow DJ SCS_next great. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia, and youtube.com/@OTB LaxPod. And this has been episode number 381. Brought to you by our friends at Rita's in Sewell, New Jersey. Guys, go to 288 Egg Harbor Road in Sewell all summer long to get those delicious sweet treats. The Italian ice is going to be an absolute game changer in this brutal summer heat. Go to ritazice.com. Check out their entire menu and their nutrition facts on all of their delicious treats. Again, that's ritazice.com. And visit our friends at Rita's in Sewell, 288 Egg Harbor Road in Sewell, New Jersey, all summer long. We thank Rita's for being a proud partner of the podcast. And this has been episode 381 of this here podcast, the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA, number 11 Philadelphia ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Deej, I'm KB. Enjoy this weekend of lacrosse out in San Diego. If you're there, send us photos. We want to see where you're sitting, enjoying the games. And shout out to JB34 for repping the brand in Cali. We'll see you guys here next week as we recap the first half of the season, get ready for the All-Star break. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here. Peace.
Peace.